my channel. My name is Timikemza James. For our new subscribers and our old subscribers, I love you all. You're all welcome. So in today's tutorial, we're going to be learning how to make a shirt dress. So it's going to be like a really beautiful and an easy dress to make. So don't even feel like scared because you heard the word shirt dress. It's really going to be easy. So for our tutorial, we'll be needing an iron to be pressing down our fabrics. Then we'll need a chalk to mark our lines. We'll be needing our curves and our rulers, a pair of scissors, and of course a fabric. This fabric is also from my Ankara collections. You can check me out, Timikemza, on Instagram and Timikemza James on Facebook. I have lovely prints that you can pick from, and we also deliver nationwide. So thank you guys. Let's get into the video proper. So guys, I've just gone ahead to fold it into like this because I'm cutting the front first, then I'll cut the back, and we're making it unfold because we are working on one part of the front side first. So I just folded 17 inches like this, and I gave it a good press, you can see. Then I marked the length of my dress. I want it to be 39 inches, and I have 2 inches on the hem side where I'm going to use to hem the dress. Then plus that 2 inches, 41 inches, that's what I've marked here. So I've ruled it into a straight line. Now I'm going to I want to make the dress sort of like the regular shirt, where the upper side of the back overlaps on the front side. You might not understand what I'm saying, but when I do that, you will see. So I'm just going to mark 2 inches like this. From here, I'm just going to mark 2 inches and rule it into a straight line. Just marking 2 inches, and I'm going to rule that into a straight line. Like so. When I get to the down, I'll rule the lower part of it. So for the neck width, I'm using 3 inches, and for the neck depth, I'm also using 3 inches. You can use less if you have a smaller neck. So I'm just going to use my curve, the curve part of my pattern master, to just connect the neck. Then I'm going to be inserting my shoulder measurement. Now I'm starting everything from here because it's a shirt dress. So I'm going to be needing this side to add my press buttons or whatever you want to use there. So the shoulder I'm working with is 18 inches, so I'm marking 9. It's actually 17, but I'm marking 18 because I'm going to be needing ½ inch allowance to join the sleeve and the dress. So because I want it overlapped from these 18 inches, from this my shoulder line here, I'm going to go down 3 inches for the shoulder slant. Note that regularly on a regular blouse is 1 inch, but because I want to overlap the back side to it, that's why I'm using 3 inches, because the back will make up for that. So I'm just going to connect it to my 3 inches here. Then I will mark my armhole line. Now I'm going to start from here. Normally I would want my armhole line to be 9 inches, so I'm marking the 9-inch point. Then I'm going to connect that into a straight line. Sorry, let me cross check or double check. I'm going to be connecting these into a straight line. Then I'm going to be marking from this shoulder point to find my affluence point, which is 18.5 inch, or 19 will be fine for me. So I'm just going to use 18.5. Then I'm also going to be connecting that into a straight line. Then I'll be marking my hip point, 26 inches. Marking my 26 from my shoulder to my hip is 26 inches. I'm going to connect my hip point like so. This 9 inches that I have here, I'm going to bring it down here so that I can get my armhole line. So I'll just connect it like so. Because I don't want folds on the shirt like this, I'm going to find the midpoint of this new armhole here. I have 6 inches, so I'll find the midpoint, which is 3. Then I'll go in from there by 1 inch. Then I'm going to connect. But before I connect that, I'll find my bust point. The bust I'm working it is with is 47. Note, I want it to be a free dress. It's not going to be tight. It's going to be free. So I'll be adding allowances. So here I have 11.5 like so. Then I'm adding 1.5 inch because I want it to be really free for my ease allowance. Then I'm adding 1 inch sewing allowance. So I'm going to connect to this point here. I'm going to connect my armhole point to that point where I went in. Then I'll just go ahead and connect it like so. So here we go. This is our curve for our armhole. Then on the affluence point, I'm going to divide my affluence measurement into 4, which is 10 inch. I'll mark it 1.5 inch sewing ease allowance, then 1 inch sewing allowance. Then on my hip, I'm going to mark the hip measurement plus 1.5 inch ease allowance, then 1 inch sewing allowance like so. And I'm just going to connect using my ruler. Then on this point, I'm going to be using my hip curve. On the hip side, I'm going to be using my hip curve like so. Then I'll be moving the fabric so that I can draft the lower part of the dress before I cut. So I'm just going to be extending this line here. I'll be extending it. Then I'll also be extending this line because I just want it to be a straight dress. I might end up adding a little slit on the side. So there we go. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut out my dress now. out this curve like so. So there you go. I'm going to be cutting my neckline now. But before I cut out my neckline, I'm going to be opening this fold here. You just cut it open because you're going to eventually fold that separately. So before I cut out my neckline, I'm going to put on my pressing iron. Then fold in this allowance that I have here. I'm going to be folding it in like this. Just mark where the 3 inches is before you cut. And I'll bring my iron and give it a good press. I've just gone ahead to cut out the fabric I'm going to be using for the bag. I don't want all that bulk of fabric here, that's why I did that. So instead of cutting 17 inches, I cut out 15 because I don't need that 2-inch for button that was in front of the front side. So like 15 inches on fold, so which is a total of 30 inches. So it's even a little bit bigger than 15, but 15 will be fine. So I just folded it in half. Then I'm going to bring my front bodies like so. Then on the hem side, I will just align the front and the back panel. Just make sure it aligns like this. Remember, I folded in that button allowance, so I'll just come over with my pins and pin it down. I'll just pin them down. If you can work with it without pinning it, fine, but to achieve good results, it's better you pin everything down. So I'm just pinning so that they don't move, because it's going to be like almost replicating the same thing. It's just the next side that will be different. So you can see I have the excess part of it here, so I'm going to pin this side as well. And I'll pin my shoulder points as well. So this should do. Put on my iron. Then you remember we slanted this neckline by 3 inches from here. We slanted by 3 inches, if you remember. So we are going to just come over here and bring that 3 inches back on this point. Now if you look at the way I'm putting the tape, I'm not putting it straight like this from this point. That's the neckline, that's the neck width. From the neck width here, I'm not putting the tape straight, so I'm kind of slanting it up to like maybe 20 or 30 degrees, I don't know. Then I'm going to mark that 3 inches like so. Then I'm coming down to the shoulder line here, the end point of the shoulder line. I'm marking 3.5. Sorry, I'm marking 3.5 here. Because we slanted it by 3, I'm going to add half of an inch, so I'm marking 3.5 here on the upper side. Then on the shoulder point here, I'm marking that 3 inches that we took out initially. So I'm just going to connect this into a straight line. Please don't make the mistake I was about making here. Is 3.5 inch on the neck width, then 3 inches upwards on the shoulder line. So I'm just going to connect it like so. Then I'm going to connect here also, sort of a slant like that. Then from that point, I'm going to be marking 1 inch downwards. So I'm just going to cut that out. So I'm just cutting this 1 inch like so. I'll still be trimming that. It doesn't have to be perfect. So you cut this part sideways, then you cut the armhole also the exact same way. So you're just going to follow the bodies and cut this out. So every other place is the same. You're just cutting the same thing. Then let's get back here. So on this neck point, what I'm going to do now is to fold this upper side. I'm just going to fold it over to overlap. So it's going to lie down on, like, I'm just going to pass this side with like ½ inch. So I'm just folding it like this. Then I'm bringing my iron to press it down. This is not actually like a professional or a standard way of cutting shirts. It's just like a hack. So then you see this point, I'm just going to dip my scissors and just try to achieve a curve from here like so. So you can see, so I've achieved like a round cut. You just kind of eyeball it to make it like round to meet this point. Then I'll also trim off this excess on the shoulder line. So this is it, guys. So from here I'm going to measure. If I don't have up to 8 inches, you can see this is about 7 point something, so it won't be enough. So I need my armhole to eventually stop at 8 inch. So I'm going to mark, then measure this point, drop it by that 1 inch again. So I'm just going to bring down my to be 8 inches. So here I have it. This is my shirt dress, you can see. This is it. I'll just finish up the cutting here. This is it. This is my dress. So I'm going to cut out a facing for the back panel, and I don't need a facing for the front, but if you want you can do that. But I'm just going to be cutting a facing which will just be short for the back piece. Then I'll cut out my sleeve, and for the neck I don't want a collar, so I'm going to be piping the neck. So I'll be cutting a bias strip also to pipe the neck. Then I'm going to show you how I cut out my bias strip fabric like so. So I'm going to be marking on the wrong side of the fabric. So this is what you do. I kind of want the length of the bias strip so that I can pipe round. I want it to be up to, I want to have like up to 23 inches. So I'm going to be marking, like 19 inches like so, then 19 inches, or let me just do 20 like so, and then 20 like so, like this. Then I'm going to try to connect these points together like this. So I'm just going to slant my ruler like so. So it's just this slanted line you will be looking at. Then I'm going to be measuring that line, how long it is. You can see I have about 28 inches. So from this line like so, I'll be measuring 3 inches. You can make yours either wider or lesser, whatever works for you. Measuring 3 inches like so. So I'm just going to connect, so which means the total width of my bias is 3 inches. So I'll measure this if it's up to 20. Yeah, I have 23, which will work for me. So this one is going to be the length of my bias. Then I'm just going to cut out. So what it means to just cut a fabric on bias is just to, like, instead of the regular cutting a straight strip, is just to make it slanted like this, so that you can use it to manipulate any curves you want to pipe. So that's it basically. So I'm going to be having another in-depth video on bias, cutting on bias. You can actually cut skirts, blouse, or anything. You can cut clothes on bias to achieve extra fullness on it. So this is it. This is our bias strip. So this is what I'm going to do now. I'll be folding, I'll mark, I'm going to be marking a straight line like this across, depending on how wide you want your bias piece that you're going to be using to pipe your neck. So that totally depends on you. Then the same measurement I have here, I'm just taking a number from my so I'm going to be marking it here as well. So what I'm trying to do is to just fold it like the regular bias that you know. So I'm just going to fold on this line. I'll just fold the line like this. If you want your own bias to be bigger, but if you have a bias maker, you can just go ahead and use that. But I don't. So let me also say this is also another trick of making bias strips. You know, I always give my subscribers free tips on my channel. So let's just take this as one of those. This can be so useful to you on days that you need bias and you don't have. So I'm just going to fold over the other side. I don't think I even want it to be this small. So eventually this is what I'm going to have. I kind of cut like too much, I think. So if you're cutting yours, maybe you use 2.5 inches or 2 inches, it will be fine. You can see this is our bias strip. So I'm going to iron again like this. So I'll be caging my neckline in between these. Although when we get to that bridge, you'll see what I'll use this for. That 3 inches is too wide. When you're doing yours, you cut it 2 inches. Except if you want a wider size than this. This is what I'm looking at. So if you want it wider than this, you can actually cut 3 inches. But if you want it the same size as mine, I think 2 inches would have been fine for me. So guys, you know my front panel are 2 now. So this is what I'll just pick one. This is what I'm going to do just to make that. I'm going to prep my buttonhole piece. So I'm just going to fold this. You can actually fuse this part of it. I might eventually fuse it. So you just take this part, I'm just going to fold this like so. Half inch inwards like so. Iron this. And I'm going to iron it again like this to meet this point. There you go. So this is one part of the shirt. So the other one will come and overlap like this. So I'm just going to iron this one as well to bring it and overlap it. So just what I did, just that this other side is just a matter of preference anyway, but I'm going to be pressing it down on the right side instead. So by the time I do that, when I'm done, I should have something like this. I should have something like this overlapping like so. You see? So this is what I just want to have. Let it overlap like so. So I'm going to do that. Then we'll head over to our sewing table.